Hitching a ride on the coattails of the Cannes Film Festival, for a week in October, TV Land applies some Factor 4 and sets up its deck chairs in Cannes for MIPCOM, the marketplace for great ideas, ingenious formats, next big things, and absolute crap called TV. "12,000 buyers, sellers, producers and PRs rock up and tune in, looking for the next appointment to view success story, from glittery curtain game shows to documentary strands to nature programs to sport. And there's a lot of people falling over, of course. But there's something rotten in the state of telly. Advertisers have shallow pockets. Viewers are scattered ever thinner across multi-channels and multi-platforms, and the internet's eating everything. Jonathan Webdale, editor of C21, believes opportunity still knocks in a changed landscape.
Audiences are still watching TV, viewing numbers are still going up, there are more channels around, people still want great TV, there's no disputing that. The means by which audiences watch programmes, the means by which they get involved with programmes, and crucially the way in which programming is being marketed and the way in which consumers are able to find these programmes is really, that's the area that's changing the most.
Convergence is the word on the trembling lips of TV execs, from social networking sites to mobile phones, to downloadable and watch again services, from ad-busting TiVo to the BBC's rather elegant iPlayer. Ways are being found to put shows and brands and branded shows in front of every pair of eyeballs on screens great and small, but mostly small. Product placement and branded content are where the thinking's at. Advertising monolith Publicis unveiled Publicis Entertainment at Cannes this year, a company set up purely to develop and produce branded content. They've come up with an entire channel that's all about how groovy one particular car manufacturer is. Welcome to Renault TV.
There's a recognition now to make a lot of projects work. Certainly if they're very ambitious, you need to get money from lots of different places. And a lot of the technological advances on the internet have actually been fueled by large corporate companies rather than broadcasters. I think what's happening is that broadcasters are now seeing what you can do in the corporate market and now trying to adapt that for themselves. The problem has been how to monetize it, and that still remains a big problem for television companies. It's less of an issue for corporate companies because they can see that they want to reach consumers, and so the monetizing issue is less of a problem for them.
Perhaps money is too tight to mention the world over, but green shoots or brightly lit tubes are popping up in South America and the Far East. And at MIPCOM, countries compete to become scene-stealing backdrops, production centres or format creators. With the smell of freshly spray-mounted celebratory posters swinging in the aircon breeze of the Palais de Festival, Brazil was cashing in on Olympic glory to plug itself as a home of drama, imaginative animation and skilled crew. Business was done inevitably on laptops and over rocket-fueled caipirinhas. The UAE, in the guise of the production and training facility 2454, named for its latitude and longitude, was bullish about its prospects as a producer rather than just a consumer of entertainment. At the moment, though, Abu Dhabi's Mr. Television is still an Australian.
Our role is to help facilitate the development of the ecosystem that'll help the industry flourish by putting in place the physical and intellectual infrastructure to support that. It is about developing skills and talent, ideally in the Arabic content industry. It's a region of some 330 million people, 60% under the age of 25, so very much in the sweet spot when it comes to leisure and entertainment consumption.
Lunch still rules when it comes to deal-making, though, and stealing a march on your rivals in the race to spot the next X Factor or the up-and-coming apprentice. The most eye-catching show being peddled at the festival was AKB48, featuring the irresistible mix of talent show auditions and scantily clad Japanese schoolgirls. The camera loves them. A girl band with 48 members ensures Japanese format maestro Yasushi Akimoto can live his dream of celebrities you can meet every day, with daily performances in Tokyo's Akihabara and a rolling roster of girls auditioning to replace those that go solo. So sex was selling as ever. The Perfect Catch from 2-4 Productions in the UK puts Baywatch stunner Carmen Electra in charge of sexy singles on sun-kissed Greek islands. Courtney and Chloe take Miami as a limo and sex and bikini-centric piece of Floridian scripted reality. But aside from plastering the beautiful or the bawdy on your show, how do you score a hit? How do you make sense of a fragmented TV marketplace? One way is to seek the advice of Peter Bazalgette, former head of Endemol and now current advisor to Myriad Producers. Baz is Big Brother's big brother.
You know, they say that the world trade in entertainment formats in telly now is now worth 9 billion. I suspect the corresponding number for the early 90s would have been less than 1 billion. So something's happened, and that is that the world is a much faster interconnected place now, and broadcasters are much more desperate with pressure on them for new ideas. So there is this fantastic trade, and when a broadcaster has got the guts to commission a new idea, it will travel quite fast because everybody wants a slice of it. But most of the broadcasters around the world now only want proven ideas. They only want ideas that have been a hit somewhere else. Now, if you think about it, if every broadcaster did that, there'd be no new ideas at all. That's made the US and the UK markets very important. In the US, there are cable and network channels, and in the UK, the public service broadcasters who are still prepared, month in, month out, to put money into pilots of new ideas and take risks. That has made the US and the UK very, very important in the world of television entertainment.
One of the themes at Cannes this year has been change. A lot of people have been talking about change. Do you find that to be as prevalent as people are saying it is?
The truth is that most of these companies we're talking about, their own problems, are not making a loss, they're still making a profit. They're throwing off cash. And do you know something? Most digital businesses are not throwing off cash. So we've slightly got our heads the wrong way around. We're upside down on this. The industry, the commercial television industry is under pressure, it's got problems, but it's still a successful industry, and it has something that the digital universe on the whole does not have: mass audiences. That tells me mass audiences have a value. And I suggest to you that in 4 or 5 years' time, when mass audiences are even rarer than they are now in the digital diaspora and the attention deficit disorder of the digital world, that commercial broadcasters are going to be more highly valued than they are now, and they're probably going to be selling their advertising for more than they are now in the middle of this recession. So take a picture 5 years' time. We've come out of the recession, the economy is recovering, mass audiences are even harder to come by, and thereby hangs a real potential growth for commercial television in the future. Things aren't necessarily as grim as they are, but they will need the next wave of great ideas as well, and they haven't got them yet. The most interesting testbed in the world today is South Korea, where the interconnectedness of households to broadband because of their cabling systems, and the way in which people are taking entertainment direct into their house when they feel like it, that really is pretty interesting. But it doesn't mean the traditional broadcasters in Korea are finished, by the way. In fact, that's one of the ways that they deliver their entertainment signal to people.
And I wanted just finally to touch on product placement. This is something that's going to happen in British broadcasting with effect next year. And I guess there's a lot of it subtly going on at the moment anyway. But is this going to be a sea change? I think lots of viewers are a little concerned. I think lots of media commentators are a little concerned that suddenly everybody's going to be driving a very blatantly branded car around down Coronation Street or whatever. How do you see it panning out?
Product placement, which has now been legalised by the EU and left to individual countries to bring in, and finally the UK has seen sense and is going to bring it in next year. Product placement is not the saviour of commercial television, but it's nice to have.
Right.
In America, product placement is 5–6% of the advertising cake. In the UK, product placement could be worth, say, £100 million in 3 or 4 years' time, and that would be about 3.5% of the advertising cake. So it's not dramatically significant in terms of revenue, but at a time when television advertising is being competed for by the likes of Google and others, you want to make the proposition as attractive as possible, and product placement does that. The other thing is that it trusts the viewer. The era of regulating so that everything has a rule over it and the viewer has to be protected is gone. Consumers are media literate. They know what they like, they know what's rubbish. If you do a program and you stick lots of inappropriate product placement in it and destroy the credibility of the program, the viewers will stop watching. You've shot yourself in the foot, and you have to let that market mechanism and consumer judgment rule the roost rather than a plethora of laws and rules. So altogether it's completely healthy that it's happening, but it isn't a new civilization that's being born here.
Of course it isn't, because no one watches any TV in Cannes. They eat lobster, inhale Chablis and flirt in beach clubs at dusk, because despite convergence, monetising, facilitating micropayments, putting the web on the TV and the TV on the web and worrying, always fretting about advertising, that's how deals are done. In Cannes, for Monocle, I'm Robert Bound.